Hello everyone, this is Mohammad Fahim bin Amin. In today's video, I'm going to talk about string in Java. Now, I know that many of you have already know about string and you might say this like, we know about string. So what's the point of making this video? But trust me, if you simply go through this video, then you might know a lot of methods, a lot of things about string, which you didn't know earlier. All right, simply follow me throughout the entire video. So that's it. So I'm simply gonna use this main.java. I think this dark theme is all right for you. So my public class would be public class main, and let me simply disable this. All right, so this is my main method. All right, so if you have watched the first video of this playlist, then you know I have showed you how to print anything in the console, or you can say in the terminal. So first of all, I showed you how to print hello world in the terminal. So I'm gonna simply show you that real quick again. So I'm simply gonna use the simple and more generic print statement, that is system.out.println. If you are using the IntelliJ IDE, or if you are using VS Code and you have installed the necessary components, or you can say the extensions for running Java, then if you simply type like me SOUT and press enter or tab key, you'd get the entire println method, or you can say statement right here. All right, so here we use the double quote and we put whatever we want to print in the terminal, and the code simply prints that. All right, so let me simply write hello world like this, and if I simply run this from here, or from here, you see that I'm printing hello world. So this is the more generic way to print something in the console. But let's say I'm going to teach you how to work with the string. So I'm going to show you how you can use variable to work around with that. All right, so I'm simply gonna comment it out, and let's say I'm not gonna print hello world like this, but what I want to do, I want to place this hello world string into a string variable, and later I want to simply print that string variable. All right, so let's say I'm simply gonna use a string variable, so the data type would be string. S starts with the capital letter S. All right, and I can do that. Let me simply use a variable. So let's say I'm gonna name the variable something like sentence. And what I can use, I can simply use sentence equal to new string. And in this double quote, I can provide the string like earlier. I'm simply gonna copy and paste it right here. Hello world. And if I simply use the print statement, I don't need to write this whole string here again. What I can do, I can simply pass the variable here. And if I simply run it, you see it's working, right? Now, this is not the standard way to do these things. Why? Let me show you something first. We used to use this earlier, but we normally don't use this. What we use, I'm gonna show you right now. So let's say I'm simply gonna use another string variable, and let me simply name it sentence like earlier. And I won't use this type of new string parameter, or you can say argument right here, because we don't use that in our modern Java. All right, so what we use, we simply use the double quote, and here we pass the string character or string value like this. All right, so this sentence string variable consists this string hello world, and if I simply want to print that, I can simply use the print statement like earlier, and I can simply pass the variable name. And if I simply run this, it would work just fine. So this is not the standard way to do it, but this is the standard way to do that. All right, so let me simply use enough spacing so that you can distinguish what I actually did. So I'm simply going to write it something like the standard way, and let me simply comment this out, because I'm going to show you more things in this video. So here we understood what the standard way to store string data into any string variable and later print that out. All right, and for example, let's say I have stored something in a string variable, or let's say you have a string data, but you want to calculate how many how many character or how many letter are there in that string. What we normally do, let's say for this thing, we normally calculate like this: 1 2 3 4 5, 6, this space is included in this whole string, remember that. So we have to count this space. All right, so let me simply start again. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. So we have 11 letters or 11 characters in this string, but we don't want to calculate that manually. Java has got us covered how you can do that like me. Let me show you. So for example, let me simply declare another string and let me name it something like string text, and let's say I'm gonna give a string like we are humans. All right, and now I want to calculate how many letters or how many characters are there in total in this text variable. So I can simply use a print statement because I want to print something in the console. What I want to print the exact number of characters or letters are there in this text variable. All right, so how can I do that? I can simply provide the variable name and the length method. So what it actually does, it simply calculates all of the letters and characters it has and prints that out. Let me simply run it, and you see it's printing 13. Let me show you whether it is accurate or not. Of course it should be accurate, but obviously I have to show you. So 1 2 3 4 sorry 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13. Cool, so it gets that. All right, so here's that thing. So I have showed you how you can count the length of a string, but you have to remember that the length contains the white space or spacing, because this space is actually a part of this entire string. Whatever we have in this double quotation, these all are part of this specific string variable, or you can say this string data. All right, so here goes our length method, and let me show you how you can join two string all together. So let me simply declare another string. Let me simply name it like sentence1, string sentence1, and let's say I want to print hello from, and I also want to print Fahim, but I want them to join all together. I mean, this is one string and this is another string, but I want to join both of them all together. How I can do that? I can simply use a plus symbol like this, you see. So by using this plus symbol, we can join multiple string data, or you can say multiple string variable. Let me simply use another string like this quotation mark, and if I simply print this variable, it should print it. Yeah, it's printing hello from Fahim and the exclamatory sign. Now you can notice that there is no space. Why is that? Because I haven't provided any spacing between them. So I can simply use a space here or here, and I can simply add another space here or here, so that whenever they combine these three strings all together, they would get enough spacing that they need. Now if I simply run this again, you see hello from Fahim and the exclamatory sign, so it works perfectly. So here goes how you can join multiple strings all together using the plus sign. Now let me simply use another string. Let me name it something like new sentence, and let's say I'm gonna save I am Fahim in this new sentence. And now I want to check whether this string starts with something I really want to know. So how can I do that? I can simply use new sentence, the variable name, and starts with. And here in this double quote, whatever I want to say, it would check whether this string, this new sentence string, has started with that or not. Let's say I'm simply gonna write I. All right, and this always returns a boolean value because this simply checks whether this is true or not. So we can get either true or false from here. And to store that true or false, I can simply use a boolean data type, like let's say boolean flag equal to new sentence starts with I. All right, so this method only generates true or false. If it generates true, the flag's value would be true. If it generates false, then the flag's value would be false. And later I can simply print out the value of that flag. All right. Now if I simply print it, I mean run it, you see that it's telling me it's true. Why it's true? Because this string starts with I, right? So it's telling that it is true. But let's say I'm simply gonna write another thing like A, and if I simply run it, it should say false, and it said false. Why is that? Because this new sentence string hasn't started with A. All right, so that's how we print it. But there's a more generic way to print that. Here I used another variable, a boolean variable, but you don't necessarily need to worry about that because I'm gonna show you how you can do that without using this boolean flag. So let me simply comment this out, and let me simply declare another variable. Let's say the same variable because I have previously commented the earlier one, so I don't need to worry about that right now. Sentence, and let's say I am Fahim like earlier. So now I want to simply print that whether this starts with something or not. So I can simply call the variable name and this starts with, and let's say I am simply using I am. So it would simply print whether this thing is accurate or not. That means whether it actually starts with I am or not. If it starts with I am, it would print true, but if it doesn't, it would print false. So let me simply run it. Yeah, it is true because it starts with I am. So there you go. And I have showed you whether you can justify whether a string starts with something or not. And yeah, you can do the same thing for the ends with. So let me simply use the same thing again, but this time I'm not gonna use starts with because I'm simply gonna use ends with. So what it would print, it would simply check whether this string ends with I am or not. If it ends with I am, it would print true. If it doesn't ends with I am, it would print false. In this case, it should be false because this doesn't ends with I am. All right. So if I simply run it, you see it's telling me that it is false. But let's say I'm saying that it ends, whether it ends with M or not. It says true because it ends with M, right? And let me simply check again whether it ends with Fahim or not. It's also telling me the truth. It is true. All right. Now, if I simply check whether it starts with ending space or not, it should return false, and it's returning false. All right. Now, if you want, you can use a boolean flag like earlier. Let me show you that real quick. Let's say boolean flag equal to, and I'm gonna use new sentence start ends with, and let's say A. It should return false. All right. So let me check the value for flag, and yeah, it is false. So it's working correctly. So there you go. All right. Now simply let me simply use another string. Let's say new sentence, something like that, and let me simply give it something like we are learning Java. So how cool is that? And 3 exclamatory sign after that. All right. Now let me simply print something. What I want to print, I want to print the index of the first A from this entire string. All right. So how can I do that? Println, let me simply call the variable name and index of, and let me simply add a character like E. All right. Now if I simply start it, I mean run this, you see that it's telling me that the index for the first E in this whole string is 1. Let me show you whether it is correct or not. Of course it is correct, but keep in mind that index always starts with 0. Whenever we want to count, we count like this 1, 2, 3, 4, but indexing doesn't work that way. All right, indexing always starts from 0. So whenever we are thinking about indexing, it starts with 0, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like this. So here it is 0 and it is 1, so the index of E is 1. All right. But let's say you don't want to print indexing, you want to print exactly the position where the first E is in this string. So you can simply add a +1 to balance that leading 0. So like this. Let's say I'm simply gonna name it something like position for the first E in the string is, and I'm simply gonna use the new string and index of E, and I'm simply gonna add up 1 with that so that it balances the initial 0. Now if I simply print it, you see position for the first E in the string is 2, so it works great. It actually provides 0, but as I am using additional 1 to balance the initial 0, so it gets the position as 2. So if we want to count the position, we do that using 1, 2, 3. So this works in that case at all. Now let me simply stay within our index knowledge. So let me simply use another system.out.println, and let's say I want to check new sentence dot index of, and here I want to use something different. Let's say I want to find the index of E, but I want it to find from index, let's say 0, 1, 2, 3, from 3. All right. And if I simply print it, you see that it's telling me that the index of E from index 3 is 5, or you can say the first character of E from index 3 is 5. Let me show you how it works. So if I simply start indexing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, here goes our 5. All right. And I have told it that it should find the first E letter after this 3 number index. So from where it founds 0, 1, 2, 3. So it counts after this 3 number index. So here after these 3 index, I am getting 4 and 5. And this is the first E character or first E letter after the 3 number index. So it provides the indexing value, that is 5. And if I want to get the exact position, what I need to do, I need to add up +1 with that. All right, let me simply show you another thing. So the variable name and index of. Now let's say I want to get the index of this cool. Here I have to use the double quote because I'm using a string, and if I simply run it, it says that 26. Let me simply count down 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So it works. And keep in mind whether, and keep in mind that if we want to find the index of a word or a substring, it only counts the first letter. All right. So this is the string what we actually wanted to found, and this is the first letter that matches with this string. So it only provides the index position of the first letter, that is 26, like this. And let's say I want to find something which actually is not included in that string. Let's say I want to find Fahim, but you see that Fahim is not available in this new sentence string. So what it actually gives, it gives -1. So if anything comes up, something like you want to find something whether that is available in a string or not, we have to use this type of index of thing, and if it provides -1, we can safely assume that that string is not available in our string. So that's how we find out whether something is included in the string or not. And now for the letter part. Let me simply comment everything here, and let me simply use a another string, let's say something like string my new string, and let me simply write something. I am Fahim and I am a software engineer at Microsoft. I know that I am not, but whatever, I'm simply teaching you how it works, right? So like this, and if I simply print my new string, it would print that obviously like this. And let's say I'm simply trying to replace this at the rate of with something else. So how can I do that? I can simply use another print statement, and in that print statement I can use something like, first of all, I need to call my variable name, and here that is my new string, and then I need to use replace. And first of all, I need to provide which thing or what part I want to replace, and then I have to provide with what or with which I want to replace it with. All right, so let's say I am using double quote here, obviously. So I'm saying that I want to replace this at the rate of, and with what I want to replace it with hash, right? And if I simply write it again, you see that my earlier sentence was something like this: I am Fahim and I am a software engineer at Microsoft, and here I used at the rate of, but here this at the rate of changes with this hash. All right, now I can use it to change a entire word or a substring, or you can say a subpart of that string. How can I do that? Let me simply use another print statement, and first of all I need to call my variable name, and I need to use the replace method. And first of all I need to provide Microsoft, because I want to target all of the Microsoft the string holds, and I need to change that Microsoft with something like, let's say, Google. And if I simply print it, you see that Microsoft changed into Google. But keep in mind, an interesting part for this Java programming language is something like this. Whatever you want to change here, the main string, the original string, won't change at all. Keep in mind, won't change at all. Because in Java, string is immutable. It means that once you create a string object, you cannot actually change it. All right, so let me simply check whether our main string has been changed or not. And if I simply print that, you see that my main string hasn't changed a single bit. So that's how string works. If you create a string in Java, you can't change it. All right, and let me simply show you something more different, like I want to change all of them into uppercase. So how can I do that? System.out.println, the print method, and then I have to call the variable name, which is my new string in this case, and dot, and let's say I want to change all of them to uppercase. So simply this to uppercase. If I simply run it, you see all of them has been changed into uppercase, and I can do the same thing for the lowercase as well. So my new string dot to lowercase. Now if I simply run it, you see that all of them has been changed into lowercase, but obviously the main string has not changed a single bit, right? The main string is unchanged, obviously. So that's how we work with this. Now I know that I am almost at the end of this video, but I want to show you something real cool anyway. So what actually that is? So let's say I'm simply gonna use a string sentence, and I'm simply gonna use a random more spaces than necessary. All right, let's say I am Fahim, that I am student, and let's say I have used a pair here and here, and I have used more spaces. All right, now if I simply print the string variable, so you see that it's printing however I wanted it to print. Cool, right? Actually there's nothing cool in it, but the cool thing will happen right now. So you see that this is kind of error, because normally we don't use extra spacing before or after anything like this. So I want to trim those extra spacing. How can I do that, right? So I am simply gonna use a print statement, and here I am gonna call that variable name, and I would simply is trim. What it would do, it would simply trim the extra spacing in that string. Let me simply run it real quick so that you can understand. Here you see that it removed the extra spacing it had before that, but it didn't remove between them because thinks that this is an intentional thing. All right, so where it would understand that this is not intentional, like this. Let me simply use another string, let's say sentence2, and let me simply use I am Fahim, I am a student, and let me simply use multiple spacing between them, I mean before and after. And if I simply use the trim like earlier, and let me show you how it works, you see that it removed the extra spacing before and after them. So this is how the trim works, but obviously this doesn't change the original variables string. Let me simply show you real quick. You see that this hasn't changed the original string like we taught you earlier. So let me simply comment everything here. Don't worry about the code because the code would be available in the video's description. And let me show you something like substring. So let's say I have a string like new string, and I'm simply going to use something like I am Fahim, I study at United International University. So this is my string. If I simply want to print that, obviously I can do that like here. So now I'm going to talk about something like substring. Substring is the part of the string. So how can I do that? I can simply use a print method, and I have to call the variable first, and then I have to use this substring. And here I have to provide the starting range and the ending range. All right, let's say I want to get from this study at United, this thing only. So this string is considered as a substring from the center string. So let me simply grab the starting index position and ending index. So that should be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So the starting index should be 13 and the ending index should be something like 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Let's say 28. And if I simply run this, all right, it would be 29 because it should count this D as D also. All right. So you see that it's printing exactly what I wanted, study at United. All right, the starting index maybe should be from 14 because it should print from this S, not this space. All right, now let's see. Yeah, it's working. Earlier what I did, I used 13, and the 13 it included the space, but I don't want that, right? So there goes how you can print a substring from an entire string. And let's say I want to make something different. Let's say I'm using new string.substring and I want it to print from this A to the entire string. So how can I do that? In that case, I have to provide simply the starting index. If I don't provide any ending index, it prints from the starting index to the complete index. I mean to the end of that string. All right. Now let's say I want to give the starting index something like 0, 1, 2, like this. So I have simply provided it the beginning index, but I haven't provided the ending index. So what it would do, it would simply print from the beginning index to the entire index. I mean to the it would print from the beginning index of that string to the entire string, that means to the end index of that string. Let me simply run it and show you how it works. So you see it starts printing at index number 2, that is A, and it prints the entire string after that, like this. So by this you can use substring to modify the printing of any string you want. All right, let me show you something more I forgot to show you earlier, and that is system.out. I'm gonna call the string variable name, and then I'm gonna simply use to check a character. So let's say I'm simply using 5. So what it actually does, it simply prints the character. Keep in mind the character, a single character, or you can say a single letter, not a string. It simply prints a character, or you can say a letter in that particular index. So here I provided 5, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It should print only capital F, and it does that. All right, so this char at is the short form of character at position, so you can use it if you want to find out a specific letter or a specific character within that entire string based on an index number. All right, and let me show you something more at the end. Let's say I'm gonna use another string sentence equal to I am Fahim, and let's say I have provided a lot of spacing before that string, I mean here. All right, and I want to remove it. So you know that I can simply use the trim. It would simply remove the spacing before it or after it. So yeah, it does that. But we know that string is immutable. That means it doesn't change the original string. Let me show you. If I simply print the original string, it stays the same. But let's say I want to modify this string and I want to take it into another new variable, whether, I mean, so that the new variable has the updated data. The current variable doesn't have that. All right, so here I have trimmed it, but you see that if I simply print the sentence, it stays the same. That means the original sentence hasn't been changed. But let's say I want to change the original sentence and keep the updated value into a different variable. How can I do that? So I can simply use another string variable. Let's say my new print string equal to, and here I would call the variable name and the trim. So what it actually do, it would simply trim these sentence variables data. That means it would trim the I am Fahim and it would remove the extra spacing, and it would store that value into this new variable. And if I simply wanna print that, you see I have successfully stored the updated value into a new variable, but my previous variables data hasn't been changed. But that actually doesn't matter, because I have updated the value. I mean, I have kept the updated value into a new variable, so that what if I feel the necessity to use the updated value, I can simply use the new variable, because this new variable has the updated value I want it to have, right? So that's it for today. Thank you everyone. If you have enjoyed this video, I shouldn't say you have enjoyed this video, because this is not an entertainment video, this is an educational video. Whether if you are a programmer or if you are an advanced programmer, doesn't matter, you're learning something new every day like I do. If you simply like this video, then consider liking this video, sharing with your friends, and of course don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And you can follow me in GitHub, GitLab, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and in all other platform you want. I'll provide all of the link in this video's description box. So that's it today, and I will see you in another video. Till then, take care.